Hi, I'm George Norrie and welcome to our Coast to Coast AM YouTube channel. Have fun, tell your friends and share us with everyone. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok and Coast to Coast AM's mobile app, and always remember to log on to our website at coasttocoast.com for daily articles, the best paranormal information and all you need to know about your favorite guests. And now you can become a Coast Insider directly through the Coast mobile app. We welcome our international listeners and even can offer a free trial, so don't delay, become an insider today. Author Karen Wilkinson with us worked in the software industry for many years. As early as she can remember, she's been abducted by non-human alien entities possibly hundreds of times. Truly amazing. She has seen many others throughout her lifetime and suffered emotional and physical ailments due to the things they did. She has written about her experiences and also as a regular contributor and writer to La Marzulli's monthly newsletter, Politics, Prophecy and the Supernatural. Her book is called Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. Karen, welcome to the program. Looking forward to this. Thank you so much, George. I am so excited and happy to be here with you tonight. And our friend Lomuli has written the foreword to your book. We just think the world of that guy. Oh, me too. He's the most amazing person. He's a great friend, a great mentor, and just an amazing support. Did you give him the support I think he needed a couple years ago when that fire raced through the California area and took out everything he owned? Oh, that was devastating, and I made a deal with him that every time I see him I will bring him another book until we have his library refilled. Oh, good for you. He's a good. Yeah, it's a little thing, but it's just one little thing I can do, and it's that was just devastating. Devastating. Right before we get into your story that you worked in the software industry, what do you think of artificial intelligence this day? We were talking about it over the last couple hours. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think that it has some very positive, amazing aspects to it, and it also has some very potentially dangerous aspects as well. It's something where it says as much as you give it right, that's what it will be able to work with. So I think it's something we need to keep an eye on. I think you're right. I think there's a possibility that artificial intelligence could go and out of control. Exactly how much, Alicia, are we going to give that? How much information are we going to let it have access to, or is it going to gain access to with or without our permission? And I think that's where it gets a little scary. The name of your book is called Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. Tell us about that title. Yes, that the title is about the fact that I had some missing pregnancies, and that I at that point in life actually taking babies, taking embryos. Yes, oh my God, yes, I was married, I was pregnant, went to the doctor. Everything was verified, everything was there, and the end of the first trimester I started to not feel well, but I didn't have any kind of a physical miscarriage. Went to the hospital because I was feeling really bad, and there was no baby, and they did a D&C and there was no fetal tissue, no nothing, and they asked me, Mum, are you sure you were pregnant? And I'd heard a heartbeat, I'd been through the doctors, I'd done all everything you do at that point, and it was just devastating because I never got to know if it was a boy or a girl. I didn't get to mourn that child, to memorialize that child. It was just gone. Did you document the pregnancy, or did they think you were little? No way. I had one doctor who had already documented that I was pregnant, and then it was an emergency room where they were completely separate. And this is 40 years ago, so things weren't conned like they are today. Obviously, So you know they in the emergency room there like were you ever even pregnant? You know they thought I was they thought I was crazy but they could tell that something had been going on. Because my body your body changes when you're pregnant. Well, do you think that these were hybrids or actually human babies that they stole? Hybrids. Absolutely, because there was a point later where I was taken and I was able to hold one of these babies, and it was a very strange experience. It was not like a normal baby where one of my normal babies would cuddle into me, have a reaction to me. It just seemed to have no reaction to me. Was very, very small, and did it look human kind of, but it was lot darker. Almost a reddish purple color almost. Bluish. What about the head? What about the head and the eyes? Karen head was very large. It was more head than body. Well, so they're definitely out of proportion, right? Yeah, the proportions were just wrong, and it didn't cut away into me. It was like holding a brick is how I described it, because it just didn't respond to me the way and even someone else's baby when you hold it will kind of respond. It didn't respond, and I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep trying, but I also didn't want to. At the same time, I was very torn, and obviously I didn't get to stay with that baby, but I think they were trying to see if it would bond to me or if I could. I wasn't told what the purpose was for me to be there and trying to hold that baby, but I believe it was to get me to bond with it, or maybe see if it would give it more human qualities. I'm not sure how many months into the pregnancy do you think it was taken? Right around 3 months, and then they raised it themselves. And I believe, because when I was I read about this book on the in these facilities where they would take me. Usually it was an underground facility, or there were hallways that were lined with what looked like I don't know if they do this anymore, but it used to be you go into pet stores and they'd have walls of like aquariums, and it kind of looked like that, and everything was very dark and kind of backlit like a red dark color, like a dark room where might it have been a spaceship that you somehow walked into, and it could have been, it could have been, because when I was taken, the act of getting from where I was taken from to the final place, you're not always awake and aware. A lot of times you're shut off, turned off, and put to sleep or something like that, so you're not aware of where you end, where you are, where you've ended up, but there and I saw that the fetuses in what looked like artificial, what I know now today would be an artificial womb. How many did they have out there? Oh, dozens and dozens. It was like on either side of the wall of the one hallway that I remember very more clearly. There were just above up to the ceiling, which was probably 20 feet high, was just what all I could see were these like it looked like aquarium squares about that same size of maybe a 10-gallon aquarium, and each one had something in it, and I couldn't see up high the ones, but the ones I could see down low looked like humans, or so similar to humans. It's hard to tell as much as they can be, I guess. As much as you can tell, and it was very confusing to me, because at that point in time, we're talking in as and we didn't have anything like that I knew of in science, and there weren't things like that on the news, so I was very confused as what all of that was. Did you ever learn what the hybridization program was? Was it for this planet, or there's no one ever, they never sat me down and said, gave me their agenda or their thoughts on why they were doing what they were doing. I tend to agree with L.A. Marzulli on what the hybridization program is for, I think. It's to create beings to be here on this planet to support that their agenda, whatever that agenda might be, and you think it's somewhat evil, hence the name of the title of your book, Stolen Seed Was You Evil Harvest is what they did to you. Yes, exactly, and I've met so many women who've had the same type of thing happen and been able to talk to them. And before I wrote the book, L.A. Marzulli had released the 4th movie in his UFO series on abductions, and I was the kind of centerpiece of that movie. I did That's You, that was you, yes, that was me, and everyone says you. I need to get a t-shirt that says, oh, you're that Karen. That's right, but and that I was inspired to write the book because after that movie came out and I was at a few places where he was speaking, women, especially women and men as well, but especially women, were coming up to me and thanking me for telling my story, and they wanted to share their stories of very similar experiences, and they just wanted to talk about it, and they wanted it to be okay to talk about it. How many times, Karen, do you think you have contributed to this hybridization program? Well, I believe 3 for sure, because I later in life had an opportunity to see 3 of them as babies, all grown as grown hybrid entities did. They look then at this point more alien than human. They were very short, very stocky, very dark and colored skin. I'm almost a bluish color of their skin, so if you saw one walking down the street, you definitely say that's not a human. Right, these would not fit in clearly. This was earlier on in whatever program they're doing, because what I've heard from other people is that now this program, there are apparently hybrids that are much more human looking, right? So those you don't think they're walking among us, they'd stand out like a or thumb. Well, those ones would, yeah, and I do believe that there's kind of been a progression of trying to figure out how to get them to look more and more human. And my opinion, and this is conjecture on my part, is that it's how much human DNA and how much of their DNA does it take to make it. Do they mix enough but still be whatever they are, whatever this entity is, and which race of these entities are they able to utilize to make them look more human? Well, what do you think might have happened to these original hybrids that didn't quite fit in? I have no idea, but I know that for the rest of them, I have no idea. I would imagine, because I've seen the 3 that I knew they were mine, because I had an instance. If you'd like, I can share that. I woke up one night and they were standing there beside my bed, they being the hybrids, all the ETS, the 3 hybrid children that were clearly mine. If you had to guess how old they were, what would you say in human years? Human years, I would guess they were probably about in theirs. Okay, all right. Did they speak to you? They spoke to me like telepathically. They speak to me without using words, but they did mind speak. They wanted me to come with them, and when I woke up I instantly knew they were mine, because they had features and things that just looked like my kids. And there's something about a mom that knows her kids, absolutely, and things like that. Or I can, and I can always pick him out of a huge crowd, like a Wes Waldo kind of situation. I can always pick him out. And were these 3 hybrids kind to you? No, they were not. No, not right. Treating mama that way, right? Oh, they were not. They were not kind, respectful, loving kids, and they came across as very just that. You could just feel the anger coming off of them. Why, I don't know. I really don't. Because I hadn't had that I know of, or that I can remember any other interactions with them, and I really for a long time wanted to, because I thought if they're, because I didn't know if they were living, if they had survived, and I thought if they were and They were half me that maybe I could you. No help maybe I could take care of. Then maybe I could be an influence on them help them. Help raise them anything saying As a mother if it's your child you don't care you want to be there. For that child it's just that nurturing, mothering instinct and they wanted you to go with. Then did you know no I felt it was just George, it was this pure feeling of evil coming off of him. It was like standing in front of a coiled up rattlesnake while there were three of them. Now how did they leave or how did they depart? They departed when I broke the pool. They were really trying to pull me towards them and physically without they weren't using their hands, but I felt myself starting to levitate almost like magnetic age, just drawing you exactly. Yes, that's a great way of putting it. I felt myself start to levitate off the bed and over to the side where they were, and I called out Jesus' name and instantly I dropped onto the bed. They disappeared and my husband just shot straight up in bed, and it was amazing because I couldn't get his attention that whole time. And they left just as quickly as they came. What took you so long to write this story? It took me a long time to be able to deal with my own emotions issues from it, and what happened was a couple years ago I had a near-death experience. I kind of call it a near-life experience where I was in the hospital and instead of being given a sedative, I was given a paralytic and there was no one around me. And I died on the table, literally. Literally died on the table, ended up with a stroke and all kinds of stuff from it. And the death experience, I heard a voice saying, "It's okay, you can let go now," and I instantly, in a blink of an eye, was out of my body. I was watching things the doctors were doing in the other rooms. I could hear and see everything everyone was doing, even though I didn't have a physical body. And George, the funniest thing about it was I still had like my personality, and that's what struck me the most. I keep telling everybody, be happy with yourself, cause you get to keep this self goes with you so like yourself, but after that, because of the paralysis part of it, and it was like drowning but without being in water. It was just terrifying. I had a lot of PTSD after that, and I went through a lot of PTSD therapy to deal with that, and in doing so that helped me really deal with the other things that it was too hard to talk about, pretty dramatic. So this episode, one would say, inspired you to write this story. The episode inspired me to deal with it for sure. Absolutely. And then to start to figure out how I can talk about it, and I'm like, there's got to be a way I can share this, use this, help other people find a way to get through it, because I spent so much of my life just not able to deal with it. Karen, have you ever undergone hypnosis for any of this? No, I have not, George. That's not something I've done before. It might be something that might be worthwhile. It might bring up even some more sharper memories, though you seem to be pretty spoken with some of these things. Yeah, it might, and I am a good friends with Michelle, so and so I might look into that. Now, you state in your book that non-human alien entities are intervening with humans in an attempt to corrupt our bloodline. Tell me more about that. Right, and that goes back to the hybrid beings, the hybrid entities, like the children that I talked about of mine that I saw that were from me, are partially from me, and this is, I believe, goes back to the hybrid programs that different. You've different biblical verses refer to, and also like fallen angels. Yes, exactly. So back to Genesis 6, and Genesis 3:15 and the seed war, and I do believe that are some of these entities, at least the ones that I have dealt with some of them were appeared to be fallen angelic beings. So you think there's something satanic behind this? I've had encounters with wonderful, beautiful, loving, angelic beings, and I've had encounters with not so wonderful, not beautiful, not loving, but fallen in angelic beings. So there is definitely a very huge difference between the two, and we know that you know that when Satan took a third of those angels with him, so we know he's also outnumbered 2 to 1. Do you recall being taken to other planetary systems, or do you think everything was done right here on planet Earth? No, I think everything was done right here on planet Earth. Do you have any idea where the from? No, they never sat down and told me where they were from. They never sat down and gave me any kind of a star map or any kind of an explanation for where they came from. Just that they were more powerful than we were, that they were trying to interact with us and interbreed with us, and that, but they never sat down and said, this is our agenda and this is where we're from. Did your family know what was going on? Did you make them aware of it? Well, when I was little I tried, but then I was shown a screen memory of my family being hurt in front of me, and I was told not to speak to anyone about it, and I was continually told throughout my life that I was not to share what was happening or not to talk to anyone about it, and it wasn't just that too, because when I was little I tried, but George, we didn't have names for what these things were. We didn't have names like UFOs and whips and greys and reptilians and things like that. There weren't TV shows on for it. There might have been Star Trek type things or something like that, but there weren't books and movies and shows and things like that to give us a language to put behind what was happening. Did you ever ask yourself, Kieran, why you? Oh, absolutely. I think I probably asked that question more often than I can count on. Yes, I did. I asked myself that a lot and I asked them, why me? Why are you taking me? Why you want there? Like they would always tell me that I was special, that I was a good fit for them. Clearly I was a good breeding type person for them. I have some physical qualities that seem to line up with other abductees that I've met and spoken with, as far as blood type and things like that. So I think that's part of it. Are you still being approached by them? I'm still being approached, but I'm not being taken. What do they want to do with you now at this point? I don't know, because I'm not having any, I'm not allowing any more further conversation to that end. But honestly, the last interaction where there was sort of a conversation going on was that they wanted me back to continue to share their message, but their message, excuse me, I was not one that I wanted to share, because I didn't agree with it, and it was deceptive in my opinion, and it wasn't something I wanted to do, and they're very unhappy about that. Do you think there are some aliens that are well-intentioned? Yes, I do, because I believe that these beings, sorry, if you do me a favor, if you move your mouth from the phone, I am so sorry. Yes, absolutely, you blow out my ears. I am so sorry. I'm not used to being on a landline. I apologize, George. I was sneezing there. Are good you like that? I've had interactions with really good angelic beings, and when you look up in the sky, if you see a craft, if something comes down and beings come out of it, you don't have any way to know if these are benevolent or malevolent, right? Because you can ask them, but a bad guy is not going to tell you he's the bad guy, right? No, he's not. And L.A. Marzulli mentions in his foreword our friend David Jacobs, who believes that there's a very nefarious meaning behind these visitations, so he would probably agree with you that these aren't all good. Exactly, and it's just when you're taken against your will. And you don't want this to happen, then I have a hard time finding the benevolence in that. How old would your hybrids be today? I'm late still. Okay, so probably closer to 40 or so. When you saw the three of them, how long ago was that? 10 years ago? A few years ago? Okay, about 5 years ago, maybe not too long ago. Yeah, I'd have to look at the date, cause I did write it down. Yeah, not too long ago. And I really wanted to know, and that was a thing, and I think that I was allowed to see them. I think God allowed that to happen so that I would have my closure finally. Because if there was good in them, if they were good, if they were, there was something there, then I wanted to be able to have a relationship with them. You really wanted to treat them as your babies, didn't you? I did. I really did. And I think anyone who's had a child, and maybe even people who haven't, would probably be able to understand that feeling of when you've had a child, and I think that's why people, when they've given a child up for adoption or something like that, will later in life try to find that child, because they still love them. Just because he couldn't raise them doesn't mean you don't love them. Do you think the hybridization program is continuing today and worldwide? I really do. Absolutely. How many people do you think have been approached, have been abducted, have been used for a breeding program? Do you think? Yes, my goodness, that would be a really difficult number to speculate on, but what I can tell you is, and people come up to me at conferences or events, or respond through my website or through my Facebook page, I hear from someone else practically. So I think it's a really high number. And there was the poll done in as right was that was said had a very high number then. So I think it's probably a very high percentage. Now, you mentioned Roswell in the Grenada Treaty in your book. Tell me the tie-in there. The tie-in for that for me was that these are two things that a lot of people are familiar with, especially Roswell, and I thought it was significant because it points out the fact that when Roswell happened, the government said first there was a headline, that the saucer crashed, and then they yanked that back and said no, nothing to see here, nothing. Yeah, they yanked that pretty darn fast, didn't they? Exactly. And then we're still getting that same game today. Oh, well, we have no interest in UFOs. Oh yes, we are studying what they created a narrative and a system where people think UFOs are crazy talk, and if you say you've been abducted, you're insane. And then they come back and say, but WAPs are real, and we have craft, and we have videos, and we have illogicals. So, but we can't talk to you about it, but we're going to go have meetings with other people about it that you're not allowed to know about. So we're going to leave it all up to your imagination what we're saying. So it's this crazy back and forth of no, they're not real, yes they are real, no, we're not doing any research into this, yes we are looking into this. Interesting. Do you think governments are aware of what's going on with the abduction cases? It's just my opinion, but I absolutely do, because from the time I was little I saw humans. Are they a willing party to all of this? Do you think? I don't necessarily think that all of the humans who are involved knew what they were getting involved in until it was too late to get out of it. But do you think this is going on with the knowledge of the government that basically has turned its head right? I think they're turning a blind eye to something that was agreed to a long time ago, into a program that was started and you can't stop, and program that people get into not really realizing what they're getting into, and then it's too late to get out of it. Karen, this book that has come out this year, how do you get it? Right now it is available exclusively at Lamazulinet. Lazuli's website, that's Lamazulinet. You can find links to it at my website, which is Karen Wilkins, and Offercom. We've got that linked up for you at Coast to Coastcom, and you spell your first name Krin, right? Yes, sir. I do. How did you meet LA, or how did he find you? You know, it's a funny story. I just quite kind of by accident, and so I think it was really Providence that we were put together, and I ended up at a conference where he was a Christian conference, and agreed to tell him my story just kind of on the spot. I think your story has scared him. I never thought I would tell anyone my story, and I don't know why I trusted LA, but I just had this feeling about him, and he's the first person besides my husband that I ever trusted to tell my story to, and you can't trust him. He's a good guy. He is the best. He really is, and helped me and my dedication. I dedicated this book to Law, who listened, believed, and is always there for me, because that is what he did. Did you know his working partner before he died, Richard Shaw? I did not know. I wish I had. He was a good guy too. Yeah, he was amazing, and you know, I just want it to be okay for people to talk about this. There are a lot of people out there, you know, trying to talk about it, and you have a lot of those amazing people on your show, and I want it to be okay for people to come forward and say, hey, this happened to me, and if they need to talk about it, that's okay. Do you think anybody else in your family might have been abducted or contacted? I do, but I can't speak for. Then you suspect it, or you know for sure? I suspect it, and for one I know for sure. And this happened before you or after you? Well, actually, this went after me. Both of them. Yes, okay, so you were the first in the family too? Well, I can't say that I was the first in the family, because I believe it did happen to my late grandmother, and okay, and possibly some other family members who are living. That I don't want to speak for them. Do you think the ETS select these families, whoever they may be, and concentrates primarily on them and their children? I do. I think when they find a genetic line that works for them, a genetic line that they can work with to create hybrids or utilize for whatever they are utilizing that genetic material, for that they continue with that bloodline, because it works and it makes sense. It sure does. Mention Lost website again. We're getting lots of emails already about him. Oda, it's Ella Marzuli, Ella Marzl Linnet, and you can link to that through my website. You can also link to that through my Facebook page, which is just my name. And also, folks, if you search Lost name on the Coast to Coastcom website, his website pops up as well, in case you're in trouble and need to find it. What his advice would you give somebody who thinks they're being abducted? Pray. That would be my number one advice. Pray and find someone to talk to. If people who are listening to this program believe that they too have been abducted, who do they turn to? Where do they go? Yeah, that's a really good question. There aren't a lot of places out there for people to go, and one thing they can do is reach out to me through my website, and I try really hard to get back to everyone who reaches out to me as quickly as I can. I'm researching a couple of different organizations that offer to be there at a council and talk to abductees, but I don't want to put anything on my website until I feel like I've vetted it fully, and they can go and search and look for organizations, because there are places out there that do offer help and counseling and support for abductees. Believe it or not, there are a lot more out there, I think, than most people realize. I think you're right. Tell me about the handler that you had. Yeah, this was a gentleman who was with me pretty much throughout almost all of my abduction experiences. He just kind of created a relationship with me, and I got to know him very Well, was he an ET or a human? He was an ET. He appeared as human, but much later in life, as our relationship grew and I had a different type of relationship with him. He showed me his true form, and I can't say that I'd seen. I've looked, I haven't found a picture of anything that looks quite like him, but he was reptilian in nature, and I describe him in the book as best I can. And you felt comfortable with him? Very, very much so. Yeah. Does he still come around? I'm sorry, does he still come around? Only once in the last a couple of years to try to convince me to come back, and he looked very different. He looked sickly. His skin was no longer like he was aging, shiny, almost sparkly look to it, and it was matte colored, like a matte greenish color. He didn't look good. So I don't know what that's about, but it was shocking how different he looked when I saw him the last time. And what do you mean by convince you to come back? Do you have the say so in this matter? Yes, I absolutely do, because I'm protected by a higher power than them, by their creator. Well, at what point did you realize you're in control? And I wouldn't say that I'm in control, but that my creator is in control, that God is in control, and so Hasji gives us that authority, through my faith. And I realized that about 5 years ago. Interesting. Let's go to the phones. John is truck driving in Ohio, one of our favorite states. Welcome to the show. Hey John. Hey, good morning George, and good morning Karen. I got a couple questions. Now, when you were pregnant through these pregnancies, did you carry them full term, or did they come back and take them like in 6-7 months? They took them. John, at 3 months. Okay, so there was no you didn't have a chance to be examined by a doctor here? I mean, did you go to a doctor here to see what was going on, and maybe they could see what was going on to be examined? I did. Thanks John, those are great questions, and I love Ohio. Stay safe out there. I did go to doctors for these pregnancies, and the pregnancies were confirmed and that early in the pregnancy they confirm your pregnancy. Sometimes you'll get to hear a heartbeat, you'll get your prenatal vitamin. Back then you got a prescription, and things were little different back then, so I already had those pregnancies confirmed by doctors. When it happened, how many human children do you have, Karen? I have 3 biological and 5 total. Now, when you say 3 biological and 5 total, what does that mean? That either we've adopted a few along the way. Oh, you have. Okay, all right. And then 3 hybrids that you know of? That I know of. Yes, interesting. But at no time did they ever try to take you physically to a different planet? Not that I am aware of. No, that doesn't mean that didn't happen. It just means I don't have a memory of that at all, and or if they did, I didn't know. That's where I was. I wasn't told that. But no, did you ever have nightmares about this? I have. Yeah, I've had some nightmares. I don't fully remember them, except that waking up from a nightmare about something that happened. Have they gone away now? Not really. Mostly yes, occasionally I'll still have it. Well, okay, so these things still happen every once in a while? Yes. Did you feel violated? Absolutely. Let's go to Aeon in Fountain Valley, California. Thanks, Ain. Go ahead. Hey George, thanks so much for taking my call. You truly are the Nighthawk. Thank one and only. I love it. Karen, I am interested in the male aspect of that, of whether it, what your insight is into whether it could happen to someone like me, and whether it happens in your sleep, like you might not even know it, and possibly what your thoughts are on that. Yeah, could they get to a male and take his DNA and take what he has to do take in order to create hybrids? Karen, hi. Yeah, thanks, Ain. That's a great question. Absolutely yes, and I have a couple of male friends. 2 of them were in La Maris movie. Other Fourth one who have had exactly that happen. Interesting take on that. There could be thousands and thousands of hybrids Karen there. Absolutely could be. I mean, this is going on for so long and there are so many people here on this planet to work with as well, so you know we have no idea, and if they're walking among us at this point they could so much like us that we wouldn't be able to pick him out of a crowd. Is it possible that this is a program to replace us? I think that's entirely possible, Bo. You know, it's unfortunate because anything about that I say would be speculation because they haven't shared that with me, but you know, if they wanted to they certainly would be able to. With the numbers they could have let us go to Brendan in Austin, Texas. Hey, Bren, go ahead, buddy. Thank you, Karen and George. Are very interesting. All the shows tonight and this week have been great. Different hybrids are maybe different tools, right? You got to use a different tool for the right job. I saw a gray one time and it was a kind of negative and definitely deceptive, I can tell you. But I think that there was like positive things helping us, and I had two co-workers who they don't really know that I'm curious about this topic. They like knew all the people that have been there forever. I mean, they know me, but other they told me that they were both in Sidon and they independently told me this like months apart, if not a year or more apart, both in Sidon, Texas, which is nearby in like Whitley-Strieber type area where I live in, and they said one told me that there was a grey in their living room she saw crossing the living room, and the other one told me that there are orbs that come down and that the coyotes will go into a frenzy and that they start screaming and it sounds like they're eating each other alive or panicking like a crazy frenzy. You've never even imagined, but how do people know if they're being abducted or if they have been abducted? And then what did you think about Whitley-Strieber, who I have a lot of respect for? I'm sure everybody does, doing a circle with his book Communion, which you know means coming together, and then he was pretty trepidatious about ETS and probably still is, and cautious for a while, and then he kind of has come back around, and on Twitter in his latest book and on COA Coast he's talking about ET helping us and stuff like that, and I think having evolving views is healthy and natural regarding this topic. But and then these are more rhetorical, you don't have to answer them, this is just for thoughts. But if Graz are as evil as you had felt, why do you think that they came? That they let you tell the story instead of eliminating you? And could the hybrids have been upset with you because they felt abandoned by you, that you didn't go with them, that they're your mum, that you're their mum and you didn't do with them, and when you cried out, Jesus, that they realized that they were upsetting you, hurting you, and let you go? Those are great questions. Wow, that was a lot, Brandon, and some interesting stuff. I'm in Texas too, so I'm aware of a lot of the places that you talked about. You asked why, you know, if they were not benevolent, then why didn't they eliminate me when I decided to write the things that I wrote? Because I'm protected by a power higher than they are, Brandon. I am protected by the Most High, and they know that, don't they? Yeah, and I've watched them back away, and they can't touch me, and they know it, not that they haven't tried. Trust me, they have. But I've got a good friend named Vicky Joy Anderson who wrote a book called They Only Come Out at Night, and she has helped me with breaking covenants and things like that. She's just amazing. I think she's going to be an upcoming guest on our program. I think she's on October 30th, and she's been on before, I believe, too, so she's amazing. Another one of Merrill friends, good friends, and so that's what happened there. And I think, you know, I that's a really good point. You know, do I think that the hybrids felt bad that maybe they were hurting me when they see out when I called Out to Jesus' name now, the issue I have with that is that they were standing there not offering me love, not offering me kindness, not offering me, hey, Mom, we love you, will you come with us, do you want to be with us? There was none of that. It was come with us, it was done with no kindness or love whatsoever. There was no love in light there, just no emotion, no emotion. Well, there was some emotion, it was evil, it was just negative. Towards me it was like they hated me. Let's go, and you could just feel the seething hate come off of them, and I was shocked by that because the second I saw them I was like, these are my kids, and the first thing I felt was love. The first thing I wanted to do was embrace them and just jump up and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get that chance, you know, and it makes me want to cry because that's the first thing I felt, and their response to me was not love. Their response was just disgust and disdain. And well, they didn't get those kind of genetics from you, so I wonder how they got that part right. Well, thank you for saying that, and no, that just and that broke my heart. Let's go to Carol in Florida. Go ahead. Carol, hello, go ahead, hun. Hello, who am I connected to? You were on the show. Carol, go ahead. Oh, okay, yes, my daughter had a best friend who confided to her that she had been abducted and evidently was told she produced some sort of child through aliens, and that her father also evidently it ran in the family. My daughter's friend was so fearful that she became very connected to the Catholic Church, and wanted protection. That is really all the information that I have, and this is this is an important topic and show. Did you believe her, Carol? I'm sorry. What did you believe the girl did? What did you believe her? I do, I absolutely do. Yeah, what do you think of that, Karen? Carol, I'm good for you, thank you for believing her, and if you have a chance to just be there for her if she wants to talk about it, the one thing that I can say for me and for my friends who've been in this situation, sometimes we just need someone to listen, knowing that someone believes us, because these are real things happening to people, and we've spent our lifetimes just being treated like we're making this up, and that in itself is just devastating. So thank you for believing your daughter's friend. Let's go to Joe in Monterey, California. Hey Joseph, go ahead. Thank you for taking my call. George, thank you, Joe. Oh well, I want to congratulate your guest for coming out and writing books and getting her into the public eye. It takes a lot of courage, it does. They make you forget by the way they can control your memory. They can make you forget if you were abducted when you were young. It may come out in your dreams if you don't remember the actual experience. It may come out in dreams later on in life. I feel that what you were holding did not have a soul. It didn't have a soul because a soul wouldn't really want to incarnate into an abomination like that. Maybe they're kind of keeping it alive through your energy of love, and also they want someone to bond, and they want, like you said, they want a spokesperson for their agenda, and we have them on the earth. There are people that really believe that, oh no, they're really good. No, none of the greys are good, really. There's only one race, and that explores the earth for crystals and information like that. But these are this is an abomination completely. Now I want to ask you, did you get more information through your dreams? And also they don't leave us, George. Once you're tagged, they will watch. They may not interfere, but if you're going to do something that really exposes them, like get out, take out an implant, because I used to have an implant in a certain place and I was thinking of getting it changed or taken out, and it disappeared. It moved and the skin was covered over, so they had to be monitoring my thoughts as well. Do you ever feel a presence and not see them, because they are very curious? By the way, do you feel that presence still, Karen? I do Sometimes yes, but the funny thing is that it's always outside of my home, and never inside of my home, so I have this beautiful protection always around me and inside my home now, so I know very, very grateful for that. Interesting takes and give out Lomoruli. Website once again Karen, yes, his website is Lamazuli Lam Aziz and Zebrau. Lenet that's Lamazulinet. How did you stay so strong, Karen, through all this adversity? I didn't, you know. I've had my breakdowns, I have had some incredibly challenging times, and I write about that in my book too, that there are times where I'm honestly surprised I'm still here. But are you depressed? Oh, definitely so. You've been through a lot then. Yeah, it was a lot, but you know, one of the things that's always kept me going is my family and the kids and just love and your faith as well. My faith is the number one thing. So where do you go next with this story? What do? You've got the book out, you go to conferences. What next can you do? Well, I'm going to talk to as many people as I can, help as many people as I can, answer as many questions as I can, and then see where God leads me next. And it will probably take you to higher mountains, don't you think? Probably are. Yeah, we are, make plans and God laughs, so yes, and I'll go wherever he sends me. Will you stay safe out there? All right. Absolutely, I will. All right, thanks. Karen, I appreciate you being on the program. The name of the book is called Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. It's available on Mamazuli's website, which you can get to by going to Karen at Coastcom. For some people, demons and entities seem to be a problem as well. And if you need a clearing, there's no better one than the spiritual warrior, Bill Bean. Bill, let's talk about that other case of possession that is in the book, The Connection, if you would please. Absolutely, and Georgia, I'd like to, if we have a moment after that, I'd like to mention briefly a couple recent ones that I feel you would probably be very interested in hearing about. Absolutely, but let me speak about this really quickly. This one took place on March 31st, 2018 in Orlando, Florida, and I arrived at the home, and you know, George, usually I can feel, and again, I don't claim to be anything, but God does give me, unknowing of things he has bestowed, gifts, I'll say it that way, upon me, and I could sense evil right away, you know, pulling up and getting out of the rental car, and as I'm walking up the walkway, you know, I could sense it. I could feel evil present, and it was a very nice family, and the lady of the house was the one being affected, and she too had some suffering in her childhood, and she was exposed to Santa Ria Santoria curses, which is, you know, it's like a Caribbean voodoo, and so she had exposure to that and was victimized by that as a child, and so she had been having on and off bouts of what she believed was demonic possession over the years. I think it was just a strong oppression that eventually did turn into a possession, and I didn't even think that until it was time to perform the deliverance. So I'm sitting there with her and her husband, very nice lady, he's a very nice man. I met the kids. Everything seemed well between all of them. We're talking and the more we talked, the closer it was getting to the time at hand of the deliverance. So I asked her husband to go up and fill the tub that I was going to ask her to stand in. The water, I was going to bless the water. First I was going to ask her to stand in that water, and I was going to perform the deliverance over her while she was standing in that blast holy water. So everything was going according to plan until we got into the BAP room when it was time for her. After I said the prayer, and I could notice when we were going up the steps, her body language, you know, it was changing, and she was becoming nervous and apprehensive, and you know, and again you think, okay, well, this person's going to be a little nervous. I mean, something like this is about to happen, you know. They're going to be disturbed by it, so I'm blessing the water, and now it's time for her to get in, and all of a sudden, George takes her over and it becomes a physical struggle, and her husband, he was right there and he did assist me. He stayed right there with me and we had to physically subdue her and get her into the tub, and my goodness, was it ever a struggle. Same thing, spitting on me, trying to bite me. Her eyes changed to black, there were voices coming out of her and she, her tongue looked like it was like a serpent. It was coming out and going all over the place. It was just unfathomable. And then she started. It wasn't her, it was those demonic entities in her. They were screeching and screaming. I can't believe that the neighbors didn't call the police. That's how loud this was. And so, again, I had to be unwavering in, you know, what God was having me to do, and I continued even with that screeching, and I continued to take part and authority over it. Every time I did that, it would stop and then it would start back up again. So this was a battle back and forth for quite a while, and to make a long story short, God did work through me to deliver her from it, and when she was delivered, she vomited everywhere, and that happens sometimes, George. She comes up through the mouth like that, and after that happened, she was delivered, and then you know, God bless her husband, he cleaned all of that up, and we had to put fresh water in there, sure, and I re-blessed the water and then baptized her in that, and she's been great ever since, thank God. But let me tell you, I will never ever forget that day, and it seems like she was calm, and then something really kicked her into high gear. What would have done that? I think what it was is the entities knew it was time for eviction. So when it's time for eviction, you know, they're going to hold on and fight with everything that they have, because they don't want to go. They were fighting you. Yes, they have a host body, and that's what they want, and when they could get into a person like that and have that level of control, they don't want to go anywhere. So I am definitely, you know, a mortal enemy to these demonic forces, and again, it's by the power of God that I'm even still alive, George, because I believe that if the devil would have had his way, he'd have killed me a long time. That's the power of God. I'm still alive. That's what I asked you, if you've ever been attacked or hurt. You've been very fortunate. Yes, absolutely. Can we say you were lucky? Well, I would say blessed are you. No, I'm definitely under God's full blessing, and I am not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I try to do the best that I could do and be the best that I could be each and every day of my life, because I have to be somebody and for somebody every day of my life, so I can't let down, and so I thank God and praise God for that. And I will say this as well, that my life is 50 times more blessed than it's ever been cursed, and I can never thank God and praise God enough for that. Let's talk about a couple other little cases you had mentioned, then we'll get into the Mandela effect, and then we'll take calls with you. Bill, what other cases did you happen to have? I want to talk with you about something that took place on November 18th this 2018, and your webmaster has it posted on the Coast to Coast site, a couple of those photographs, and this took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and this took place at the home of a family that I had already helped. I previously been there. I love them dearly. They're like family to me now, and I feel that way about all my clients after this is ever with. I try to be there for them and do anything that I can for them, and always be there and somebody that could comfort them and help them to move forward. So this is Anita Tito and her son Chris Levis. Great people anyway. They started having problems again, and they asked if I could come back, which I Did. And again I sensed the presence of evil. When I entered into the home, really. Walking up the walkway as well, but I entered in now. Usually, George, I would never ask someone to do this because most people, they don't want to document. They don't want to take photographs. They don't want video. They're very embarrassed and ashamed by it. They don't want people to know it. But on this occasion, I felt that God was urging me to say to Chris, I want you to stand behind me as I'm going through this house. And they had severe demonic problems in the past. They got work to me to deliver them and to get rid of the garbage out of the home. And somehow it come back in, and so I asked Chris, I said, I want you to walk behind me as I'm going through the house and just take random photographs. I really believe that you're going to capture some things in these photographs. And so sure enough, he captured many images to that I believe to be divine angels, and then the rest I believe to be demonic, and one in particular which is on your coast to coast website was this face, and I mean it's very clear, it's very clearly defined. It looks like a demonic entity, and if you look closer at it, it looks like fangs. Oh, it's horrible looking, it's horrible. Yep, out of the right side of the mouth, and so this was in the basement of the home. It looks like Frankenstein, the face, doesn't it? Exactly, George, exactly, and I mean that's one of the most defined pictures that I've ever seen of what I believe to be a demon. And so I was drawn over to the chimney area, and part of that house was built in the earth, and there was like a little pot-belly stove connected to this chimney area, no, down in the basement, and it was a block wall, and I felt that there was a portal there. So this is something that I didn't discuss with you earlier that I should have. Is that not only do I have to be you the power of God find and rebuke you, cast out demonic forces, but I also have to close the portals as well, because there are portals everywhere. That's not easy travel, no it's not, and so I'm standing there in front of this block wall where God had held me to where I believed a large portal was, and I'm binding rebuking it, closing the portal. And as I'm doing this, George, just as you're hearing my voice now, this groan growl type of thing came out from within the block wall and needed. Chris was standing right there with me. We all heard it clearly, and so after hearing that, I had to jump right back into action and take power and authority and by and rebuke it, cast out, and then it departed. But it was again something that you and the listeners, you'd have to be there to see it and hear it for yourself to truly understand and appreciate what I'm saying. Let's take a few calls here for you, Bill, then we'll come back and talk more about these events and the Mandela effect as well. Let's go to Colleen in Red Bluff, California to get things started. Hi Colleen. Hi George, thank you I think for taking my call. I'm actually kind of really nervous. I was married for a long time to an abusive man, and there were many times just to cut it short, badly physically, mentally, whatever, and sexually, and I can distinctly remember at least 3 or 4 times where I saw the face of Satan. Well, he would be raping me and choking me, and I would have fought him off physically as hard as I could, and I was strong back then, and I mean I would be sweating just out of energy trying to fight him off. And I feel like I've been stuck, and I don't know if there's residual effects from that or whatever. But I know, do you feel possessed? I don't know if I feel possessed because I've done, a single mom, 4 kids, raised them all, worked hard, and where is he? He's gone, right? He died. Yeah, he died, yeah, about 3.5 years ago, but we were divorced a long time ago. But God has been amazing in and letting me raise my kids and everything that we went to, just host of things, but personally I just feel Like I just not worthy, I don't know I. Well, let's bring the expert in to talk. With you, Bill, go ahead, and I'm very sorry that you've suffered in the way that you have, and I want you to know that God does love you, and God is with you, and God is for you, and I think it's time for you to start a new chapter, new season in your life, making God first in your life and have a real connection with Him and allow Him to show you that you are somebody and you are worthy. So I would suggest to you that, and whether it's me or somebody else, find someone to help you with this type of spiritual, and this would be more of a spiritual cleansing for you. And I would also recommend that you'd be rebaptized as well and start a new chapter and a new season in peace, freedom and victory. I want you to look forward and never look back. Okay, and you can get a hold of Bill through his website, Kalini Bill Bennett, linked up at Coast to Coast Amcom. That's it, and God bless you, and if I can be of any assistance in any way, please, like George said, he just gave you the website, don't hesitate. Let's go to Ed in Hemp Hill, Texas. Ed, welcome to the program. George, it's such an honor to talk to you. Well, thank you, Ed and Bill. When I was 10 years old, my mother went to Kmart and bought a Ouija. Oh boy, no, she thought was a game, right? Thought it was a game, yeah, and my brother, me and my brother played it. He was 3 years old and he was 12, and he died at 25 years old. Oh my. And everybody in my family except my father, he's 82, has died. I'm very sorry to hear that. You think a lot of it was tied to that Ouija board, Ed? I think everything was tied to it. Anything happened that you could recollect for us when you were playing it, and how many times did you and your brother I use the board? Oh, we mess with it every day. Oh my, go every day. It's a portal, Bill, isn't it? Stay away from those Ouija boards while I'm George nor somewhere out there on Coast to Coast Am. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone. The Coast mobile app is now available for download on iPhones and Android devices. You can become an insider directly through this app. This is a great option for our international listeners, and new users will also receive a free trial